Hi everyone, welcome. FPL Matt Day here. It's game week 17. FPL is back. I can't wait for it. Deadline is in 2 hours. So I wanted to come on and do a live stream and just go through everyone's questions before deadline. So I'm sure people have got plenty of questions. So continue to get them in the comments. I'll do a live Q&A at the end of this stream. Before that, I'll go through some fixtures, my favorite players from each game, and also some differentials and captain picks as well. Yeah, really excited to have Fantasy Premier League back. Obviously, after the World Cup, the streams during the World Cup were brilliant. It was great to get some new followers, some new people involved in the podcast. So hopefully you're here for the Fantasy Premier League as well. Just before I get into the fixtures and start to go through the fixtures, if you can please give this video a like if you haven't done already. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss an upload, and subscribe to the channel if you are new around here and you like what you hear and what you see. So yeah, do not forget to subscribe, and also, like I said, get all of your questions in the comments. So yeah, looking to go for probably about 45 minutes to an hour tonight. Usually what tends to happen is people jump on towards the end of the stream and ask as many questions as they can. So I'm sure if we get to that point, we could go a little bit overboard. But let's get straight into it. Let's share the screen. Let's go into the fixtures for game week 17. It's just great to have FPL back, isn't it? It almost feels like the season has started again. And look, I know we've got teams that have been on form before, before the World Cup. And teams that probably weren't on form before the World Cup, but everything could change now because we've had teams with lots of players at the World Cup. We've had players with not many players at the World Cup. Teams have obviously gone away on camps and training camps, and that type of thing. So it's going to be a really interesting dynamic. It's the first time we've ever had a mid-season World Cup. The only other thing we've kind of had similar is when there was the COVID break. But obviously, no one played football in that 3 months, and then everyone sort of returned and come back to it. And there was some teams that come back on form that weren't on form, and teams that did drop off in form. Like I remember Leicester dropped off quite significantly in that COVID season. So, things can change in, this next few months. And another really good point to add as well is we are only in game week 17, but some teams have only played 14, 15 games, which really isn't much. Plenty of catch-up games, plenty more football to be played, and plenty more Fantasy Premier League to get through. So yeah, look, let's go through the fixtures. I'll just bring up a comment that come through from Matt Cullen, just saying he's looking forward to this stream. So yeah, buzz in to have the comments, get all of your comments in, like I said, and get any questions in prior to this deadline, which is in 2 hours. So look, let's go through the fixtures to begin with. First game on, Brentford versus Spurs. This is going to be a tough game for Spurs. Obviously, I'm a Spurs fan, but I'm a bit nervous about this one. Brentford, very good at home, solid side at home. Tony, I know he's got that betting, potential betting ban over his head, but he's always a danger. They've got some tricky players. We had a lot of players at the World Cup as well. That's one thing to look at with Tottenham is the amount of players at the World Cup. There were 12 players at the World Cup. Romero was in the final, obviously won the final with Argentina. He will not be playing in this game. He'll be back for the Villa game. Perisic only just come back into training. He's confirmed that he's starting on the bench. And there's actually been a team leak of the Spurs team on one of the Spurs forums as well. So, yeah, if anyone wants any Spurs team news, just ask in the comments. But yeah, Perisic isn't playing. He's going to be coming off the bench. Doherty is playing. He's going to be on the left-hand side. So he will get a start. So if anyone's keen on getting Doherty in, he did score in four goals across friendlies during the break. Like I said, this is a tough game for us because, Brentford at home, all these players in the World Cup. Brentford didn't have one player, I believe, at the World Cup either. So they'll be a lot fresher as well. And it is the early game. It's the first game on. So tricky one. Yeah, tight. I can't quite call it, but yeah, I think it's going to be scrappy. I'll go with 2-1 to Spurs. I think we might edge it. I can see Kane scoring. He's got this ridiculous record on Boxing Day. I don't think he's gone a Boxing Day in his career without scoring a goal. So, I'll back Harry Kane to be, the man for this one. I know not as many people are picking him for this game week and for the next few game weeks, even though he doubles in game week 20. because he is on 4 yellow cards. But I think if you can bring him in and you can afford to have him in, and he does get, say, a booking in this game and misses the Villa game, and then you can bench him, you then know you've got him, for the remainder of the season and for that double game week. And with Kane, you're always going to get points. He's been so consistent, only behind Haaland with his points and with his goals. So I think he'll score. Has done on every Boxing Day, like I mentioned. And Kulusevski's back as well. He's fresh, he's fit, he's ready to go. Looked really good in the appearances he had before the break, just before the break. He's had the most points per game of any midfielder since January last year, when he has started games, because obviously he has had an injury. So, brilliant player. He's back as well. So he's someone to keep an eye on, because he does get goals, he does get assists. Doesn't really have any competition at the moment for his place because Richarlison is injured at the moment as well. And he doubles in game week 20. So liking Kulusevski, liking Kane, I'll back Spurs to win 2-1. But again, tough game. Lots of players that have been at the World Cup. But they're probably the two players I'll focus on in this one. I'd like to say Son as well, but he just hasn't shown enough form. And he, again, is a wait and see. Let's move on to the Crystal Palace versus Fulham game. London derby at Selhurst Park. It's hard to say where this one will go as well, because Mitrovic also is apparently carrying a bit of a knock. Marco Silva has said this before, and Mitrovic has actually ended up playing anyway. So, it's hard to know if that will happen. I think if you've got Mitrovic in your team, you could probably start him. If he doesn't play, have some bench cover, and at least you can have Mitrovic ready for game week 19. You just got to hope he doesn't get that booking, because he is on 4 yellow cards. And then Pereira, I think he's just a no-brainer in our squads. You could probably start him in this game as well. A lot of people have Pereira. From a Palace point of view, I think Zaha still is the best pick. Didn't go to a World Cup. Obviously, Ivory Coast didn't make the World Cup. He is remaining on penalties despite the misses that he's had. He did miss one in one of the friendlies over the break. But I think Zaha, he's one of those players, if you've still got him in your team, you stick with him. It's a good fixture for him. Home game. These Boxing Day games tend to spring up some big scores. So I think Zaha is still the man to back. And I think Palace will win. I'll go 1-0. I think Zaha will score and Palace will win this one. So let's go on to Everton versus Wolves. And before I do, if you are new to the stream, if you can please just like the video, get your comments in as well, get your questions in. We do want to go through the questions at the end of the stream as well. And please subscribe if you're new here. Appreciate all of the support and the new subscribers. Let's go on to Everton versus Wolves. Probably not the most inspiring fixture in game week 17. Can see this one being a 0-0, to be honest, or a 1-0 either way. Wolves are obviously under new management. They'll be hoping for a new manager boost. They've got Cunha coming in, the Brazilian, but he won't play in this game. It's a real tough one to pick. It's another one where if you do buy Patterson as your £4 million defender, you could probably play him in this, in the likely scenario that Wolves do not score many goals. Patterson is a really good sort of player to start in this one, because Everton are pretty solid at the back when Tarkowski and Cody play. And you can see this being a 1-0 sort of Calvert-Lewin goal, or a 0-0, and Patterson getting those bonus points. So look, I'll back the 1-0 Everton in this. And I think Patterson is actually probably the pick for me at 4 million. So if you are looking to save money in that defence, then go with Patterson. I don't have him in my squad. I'm actually going to go with Lewis Dunk as my cheaper defender, as I'm backing Brighton to get a double game week in game week 21 and hoping that actually happens. Otherwise, if I wasn't doing Lewis Dunk with the hope that Brighton get that double game week, I would have gone with Patterson. So I like Patterson from this Everton Wolves game. I can see it being low scoring. And then we've got Leicester versus Newcastle. Newcastle obviously one of the most informed teams in the league. Plenty of good players to choose from there. They've got obviously Callum Wilson, Almiron, St. Maximum's coming back into the fold as well, which will obviously add another dimension. And then Kieran Trippier is still in there as well, and Nick Pope. So many good options from Newcastle. From Leicester, Maddison is carrying a bit of a knock, so we don't think he is going to play in this one. But Castagna has started to get some points. Obviously, Danny Ward impressed towards the end of the before the break for the World Cup, so Danny Ward did impress as well. So there's definitely lots of options in this game and from both of these teams. In terms of this fixture, how can I see it going? It's hard to tell with this one. post restart, because Leicester did end pretty strong, but then, like I said, so did Newcastle. So I'll go Newcastle. Let's go 2-1, because I think Leicester will score. And I'm liking Callum Wilson for this one. I think he didn't really get many minutes in the World Cup, but I think he'll come back. He did play in the League Cup against Bournemouth the other day. I think he'll come back and he'll grab a goal in this one. And obviously, it is on pens as well, which is always a good boost. So 2-1 to Newcastle. And then the next one, we've got Southampton versus Brighton. This is a really interesting game because Southampton have now got Nathan Jones in charge, who did first game was at Anfield. He's now come in, so you're expecting again, similar to Wolves, potentially a new manager boost from Southampton. And then you've got Brighton. Since they've had the new coach come in, they've been very, very attacking. They've been letting goals in, but they do play great football. So this could be a really open game. I'm not quite sure what to pick in this one in terms of the score. Ozspike has come into the comments. Welcome to the stream, mate. Who is a Brighton fan as well, so he's always got really good inside information on Brighton. Lallana to score only his third goal for us today against his old club. You heard it here first. So there you go, Adam Lallana. If you want a little differential in your midfield, or even if you play FPL draft, might be worth potentially bringing in against his old club. I'm actually liking Che Adams in this game as well from Southampton. I think there will be goals, but I think Brighton will have a little bit too much for Southampton. So I'm going to go 2-1 to Brighton. And Trossard, I think Ozspike can correct me, but I'm hearing he might be playing in a central role up front. There is a couple of injuries. Obviously, Welbeck isn't available. Trossard, I'll probably still back him. He's been one of the best scoring midfielders in FPL this season. He's the fourth highest scoring midfielder. So, Trossard for me. I think Brighton will edge it 2-1. That should be an entertaining game. So looking forward to that one. Nathan Jones also managed Brighton for 2 games as his first job as manager. So, that is another interesting stat there. So, a bit of a old meets old in a way. Obviously, Lallana returning to his old club, Jones returning to his old club. So that'll be a really interesting game on the South Coast. And then we've got Aston Villa versus Liverpool. This is a huge one for FPL managers, because we're seeing a lot of people who own Darwin Núñez. I will add Che Adams for Southampton has had more points this season than Darwin Núñez, but Darwin Núñez was suspended for that headbutt earlier on in the season. He's obviously a really popular pick in this game. I can see why. He gets a lot of chances. Obviously, he's been a bit streaky in terms of the hauls or the goals that he does get. But look, I think Villa, I don't think Martinez is going to be back for Villa. And I think a rested Salah is going to be huge in this game as well. Liverpool had a lot of players rested. They did have players at the World Cup, but not huge amounts like obviously Tottenham did, who I mentioned before, and Man City as well, who had a ton of players at the World Cup. So I think Liverpool will win this game. I'm going to back them to win by 2-1 as well. I'll back them to go 2-1. I think Villa will score. And Salah is going to be my pick from this game. I think this is the time for Salah now. He's well rested. We'll see how that one goes. I just want to bring up some of the comments as well that have come in. Damo, FPL West Ham. Evening, Matt. I hope you're having a great one. Thanks, mate. Great to see you in the stream. I hope you've been good. And hopefully West Ham can pull a result against Arsenal. That would be nice, mate. So, all the best to you, mate. The goal difference has just come into the comments as well. FPL is back. I know. I can't wait for it. Obviously, not long now until deadline. Just under 2 hours. So, it's going to be absolutely huge. Great to see Quentin in the comments as well. I'm sure you've got a differential or 2 or 3 in your side, mate, for this game week. Lexic, welcome to the stream, mate. Great to have you in. And then Ozspike has Darwin to cover no Salah, which I think is fair. I think you can go one or the other. I don't think you need both. I think one or the other is fine. And Darwin is obviously the cheaper option as well. And then we've had a couple of other comments in. Fadzil's come in with Salah or KDB is the headache. I will go through that topic after I've done the differential, so we will do that soon. And then welcome to the stream from Trons for Remy. Glad to be back in your stream. Great to have you in the stream, mate. And then Fadzil, which has come in. just asking about Almiron. So, will the almighty Almiron keep up the form? If he fades off the price point at 5.8, you can't go anywhere else anymore. That's also true. Although, if St. Maximin starts to hit form, he could be an option, but I do think he's a lot more than Almiron. So, yeah, that is a good point. I know there's the likes of Somerville at Leeds who did end that first part of the season really, really strong. So, you might then be able to downgrade Almiron all the way to Somerville, have an even cheaper midfielder, and then upgrade one of your third strikers, depending on who that is. So there's definitely lots of potential in there. But yeah, get all your questions in. If you have just tuned into the stream, please subscribe to the channel if you are new here. Give the video a like and get all your questions in the comments for the Q&A at the end of the stream. And then, yeah, I'll try and go through all your questions, and then people in the comments can obviously help each other out as well. So let's go on to Arsenal versus West Ham. Another big game, London derby. Arsenal obviously top of the league. No Gabriel Jesus. He is injured. So, yeah, we'll see how Arsenal go without him. But they've obviously still got a very strong team. West Ham weren't on the best of form in the opening part of the season. I think Arsenal will win this game by 2-0. I think they'll just have a little bit too much for West Ham. There's a lot of players I'm liking from this game. But I will go with Saka. I thought he looked good in the World Cup. England obviously went out of the quarterfinal stage. So, that's about 9 or 10 days ago now. So I think he'll be back ready to fire. He'll be on pens as well, I reckon. I think Saka is their best pick from this game. Yeah, got a good feeling about him. There's obviously Martinelli, Odegaard as well. Both really good choices if you want to go budget. And then Nketiah, who I'll talk about a little bit later on. So plenty of options in this one. Damo, if you are still watching, you've got some insight on West Ham, then yeah, let me know in the comments. But I think Arsenal will win that one by 2-0. A couple more comments that have come in. Awesome comment from Trons. He didn't get in touch with FPL after France messed up in the World Cup final, and terrible World Cup fantasy as well, finishing top 5k. Yeah, that's pretty good though, top 5k in World Cup fantasy. So yeah, that's definitely something to be happy with. I think that's a lot higher than what I ended up as well. So yeah, you can't be too disappointed with that, mate. And then this is Rest in Film. It's not just Boxing Day, it's Matt Day. Happy holidays. Bring on the deadline, mate. Yeah, thanks for the comments. Really appreciate it. And obviously not long until deadline now. We've got about an hour and 42 minutes. So yeah, like I say, get all your questions in, everyone. Yeah, it'd be good to go through as many questions as we can. Let's go on to Chelsea versus Bournemouth. This is another interesting one. There's a lot of people looking at Chelsea assets with their double game week in 19. Interesting one because Chelsea were not looking good before the break. See, Potter's new there. I think he'll come good in time. But yeah, their team seems a bit all over the place at the moment. They've got the likes of Mendy trying to sort out a contract situation, or Aubameyang's not really on any form. They've just got numbers of different players that don't seem very happy. They don't know what their best lineup is. Yeah, it's a tough one. They were letting in goals as well. I know a lot of us are looking at bringing in Reece James. So I think, yeah, Reece James probably is the option you bring in, because even if Chelsea can see goals, if he does play in that right fullback position, he bums forward and he does get assists and goals, and he'll always have that threat. Is there any of their other players I like? Not really in any attacking positions. I think it's a wait and see on Mount, see how he looks in the next couple of games. Does sound like he's going to be playing quite central and not really getting too far forward. So yeah, wait and see for me on Chelsea. They've shown no form this season, no form. But I think you can get away with Reece James at 5.8 million, because even when they were conceding goals, like I was saying, he did get some assists. He has got a goal this season. But just be wary of his injuries. He has been injured for 60% of his career so far. So if you own him and you think you're going to get 180 minutes out of him in the next 2 game weeks, I highly doubt it. You've also got to hope that if you've got him, you might even get subbed around sort of the 60, 70th minute mark. And you might be able to bank an early clean sheet. So, yeah, Reece James, I think he's good to have, just to have that bit of Chelsea coverage ready for the double game week in 19. But yeah, just be very cautious. Kepa as well. I think cheap keeper as well if you want to play the fixtures. Easy rotation with Danny Ward as well. And you don't want to put too much in keepers. You could probably go down that route anyway. Another thing about double game week 19 for Chelsea as well is one of the games is against Man City as well. So it's not like they've got the easiest double game week in the world. So yeah, that is another thing to take into consideration. With this game, I can see it being a 1-1 draw or a 1-0 Chelsea win. I can't see it being anything too inspiring. So I'll back Chelsea to win 1-0. As for Bournemouth, I still think you can keep the likes of Solanke or Billing. You can always put them on your bench because they do have some good fixtures. And there is a rumour they might have a double game week in 21, which would be Nottingham Forest at home and Brighton either at home or away. I think it's away. It's away if that does happen. So yeah, keep tabs on that. But I think Chelsea will scrap this one. But yeah, just a couple more comments that have come in. We've had some from Lexic, Gator, Hardy, a few others. So we are going to do a Q&A just after I go through the scores and results and my differentials. I'll go through all the Q&A, so I'll bring them up. PSB just with a quick comment. Good afternoon, mate. Great to see you. Let's smash the second half of the season. I hope so. I said I'd pretty much written off the season, and now it's just about having fun with it and just seeing how far I can end up finishing, because Haaland did ruin my season this year after a brilliant season last year. And Allspike is correct there. Kepa is a cheap way to cover Chelsea defence. He is. And I think as well, having Danny Ward to rotate with him, it's a really, really easy solution to have. Let's go on to the last couple of games, and then I can do my differentials and then the captains, and then I can get straight into the questions because plenty have come in to the comments. So thanks everyone with all your questions. Keep them coming in because I am going to bring them up and answer them. Please like the video and subscribe if you're new here. It's great to see all these questions and new faces in the comments for this massive deadline. This just feels surreal having FPL back at this stage in the season after a World Cup break. But look, Man United versus Nottingham Forest. This is another one where a lot of people are targeting Manchester United triple ups. I'm not 100% sure. I think you can probably get away with one of them. Obviously, Rashford looked good in the World Cup, shown some form in recent games, was good in the League Cup against Burnley. I think he's probably the one that I would go with. I would have also said Dalot because Diego Dalot is really good for bonus points because he gets on the ball a lot. He can get assists. And when United do keep clean sheets, he tends just to get the 3 bonus points. If you have a look at his stats, there's been games where United have won 1-0 this season, and he's just been the bonus point magnet. But he does have an injury for this one. So he's probably someone, if you bring him in, you bench him this week and then keep him for the other games. A lot of people are liking United's next 3 fixtures. Yeah, I think you can probably get away with 1, 2 max. I wouldn't go too deep on Man United. They haven't shown huge amounts of form this season. Rashford is probably the safest bet, or Bruno Fernandes, because Bruno does still take the pens. And then let's go into the last game of the game week, Leeds versus Man City. Another one. This could be quite an open game. All the Leeds games tend to have a ton of goals. I think City will win this. Oh, sorry, Man United, Nottingham Forest. So I'm going to back Man United to win 1-0. But again, I think it'll be low scoring. I don't think they'll thrash Forest. As for Leeds City, I can see City winning this one. 3-0, I think. Haaland to bag a couple of goals. And then I can see someone like a Mahrez or a Foden getting the 3rd goal. And I do think De Bruyne will get the assist, but obviously Haaland is the obvious pick from Man City on this, as he has been all season. One thing I do think as well is if this game is wrapped up after sort of 60, 70 minutes, City will make wholesale changes like they always do. They then play Everton in less than 48 hours. So expect Pep to play Pep Roulette over this Christmas break. Bear in mind, they also have a 3rd fixture, which is game week 19, away at Chelsea. They've then got Chelsea the following week in the FA Cup. They've then got the League Cup away to Southampton. And then they've got Manchester United and Tottenham in game week 20. So there is a lot of games and football for Man City. Do not be surprised if Pep rotates and makes lots of changes over this Christmas period. But I do think they'll win 3-0. And I am backing Haaland to be the main man, of course, in that one. So that is the fixtures. Before I get into the Q&A, I will quickly just go through a couple of differentials. Let's do the captains first. So captains, Haaland and Salah and Kane are the 3. I probably wouldn't go against any of them, with Haaland first, Salah second, and Harry Kane third. Like I mentioned, Kane has never failed to score on Boxing Day. And then as for my three differentials, Kulusevski for Tottenham, 5.4% owned, highest points per game when he started matches since January last year. Away to Brentford, tough game, but I've got a feeling Kulusevski's going to return in this one. And then the next one, Che Adams for Southampton, tough game against Brighton. But he's got more points this season than Darwin, Vardy, Watkins. Seems to be in favour. If you get him in for this game, you're going to get Fulham and Nottingham Forest out of him in the next two, potentially a new manager bounce. 1.9% owned. And then I'll go with Nketiah as well, also 1.9% owned, likely to start because Gabriel Jesus is injured. He scored against West Ham as well last season. And I think it's just a good chance to have some Arsenal coverage in there if you haven't gone with one of their midfielders. So that's my captains and differentials. Let's go into the questions now. And one of the questions which I'll go through shortly will be with De Bruyne and Salah. So I'll give you my thoughts on that. I'll just bring up the first question that came in. Let's find it here. Oh, we did have this. Salah or KDB is the headache. So for me, De Bruyne was in my team prior to the restart. And the games I owned him, he got a 2-pointer and a 7-pointer. And he was still in my team up until a few hours ago. And I just thought, who do I want? De Bruyne, who played in a World Cup, knocked out in the group stages, did look good in the League Cup the other day, but he doesn't have penalties. And I just look at it for that price point, and I just think I want to have something a bit more for 12.2 million, 12.6 million. I think he is now. Sorry, 12.6 million, 12.5 million. Salah's obviously 12.8, but he has that luxury of pens. No World Cup, rested. Scored from open play, and I guess for me, the debate is, who do I think has a more of a chance of scoring a goal in any given moment in a match? Salah. Who takes pens? Salah. De Bruyne, bonus point magnet, will get assists, will get points. And I do think De Bruyne has the best fixtures in the next two with Leeds and Everton, especially Leeds, who do let a lot of goals in. But I do think Pep will make early subs. And then I do think the game against Chelsea in a couple of weeks' time is going to be tight. I know City have got all these double game weeks coming up as well, but you can easily switch Salah to De Bruyne to Salah, or Salah to De Bruyne if you need to. So for me, Salah does just edge it, but there isn't much in it. I think I might just go with Salah over De Bruyne myself. And then we had a question from Fadzil. Will the almighty Almiron keep up the form? Actually, I think we went through that one, and we did say if he does lose form, you could always downgrade him even further to potentially Somerville from Leeds and upgrade elsewhere. Mount or Almiron? I'd still be going with Almiron because in the next two, he's got Leicester, Leeds. Mount, I think you can bring him in for game week 19. See how Chelsea look in the next couple of games, then potentially bring him in if they do look good. Because like I said earlier, the double game week for Chelsea, Fulham, which is a big West London derby, and Man City, which is a tough game anyway. So I think it's a wait and see on Mason Mount. Tony, I think, is a great pick. Takes pens. You've got that security of having a pen taker in there. The one thing is obviously, will he get banned? For the 242 bets that he put on, it's a wait and see there. But until he gets a suspension, you could have him in because it just doesn't look like it's going to get decided right now. But at the same time, it would be a case of you are booking a transfer there because he's probably going to get the ban. But again, you can just swap him for Mitrovic if you are going to make that move. Good question here. Who are the best differentials to own under 15% owned in the next 4 game weeks? I like Che Adams, who I mentioned before. He's got Brighton, Fulham, Nottingham Forest, some really good fixtures. Kulusevski as well, under 10% owned. He's got a double game week in game week 20. Won't have much rotation because Richarlison is injured at the moment as well, who was his main threat before. So really liking both of those. Even like with Man United's 3 next fixtures, which everyone's saying, looks good on paper. Bruno Fernandes is still very low owned, below 10%, and he is on pens as well. So, you probably couldn't look past him. Andrew Robertson as well for Liverpool, no World Cup, freshly rested, was showing some form before the break, really low owned. He's about 5.1% owned at the moment. So, yeah, for me, they're some of the best differentials, mate. So that is what I would consider. Worth having both Kepa and James. Yeah, look, I think it's possible. I think, like I said before, with the fact that Kepa is only 4.5 million, and you can just have Danny Ward as your second keeper. So if you don't want to double up on the Chelsea defence for that game week, because they've got a tough fixture, just play Danny Ward. So I think it's possible. I think you can do it. I don't really like Chelsea's defence much, but for his price, 4.5 million, double game week in 19. Danny Ward as a backup keeper. I don't think it's the worst move in the world. Question that's come in here from Hardik Sharma. Punt on Havertz, scored a hat-trick behind closed doors. Also, is Cancelo a must-have? That's a good question. I like Havertz for the fact that there is that double game week. 7.7 million. I don't think there's too many strong striker options outside of Haaland, Harry Kane, and then obviously we do like Darwin Núñez and Wilson as well. I don't think there's huge amounts of other really sort of strong, solid options. So I think Havertz is worth to go for something different. 7.7 million, really low owned, gives you a bit of Chelsea coverage. You get a couple of fixtures out of him in 19 as well. Thing about Chelsea, the one thing I'll always say is I always find they've got so many options that they do tend to make a lot of changes when there's the 5 subs. So yeah, he's someone that if he does play, only sort of gets 60 or 70 minutes, but yeah, could be worth a punt. And his Cancelo must have. I'm going to keep him. For me, it's effectively like having a midfielder when you own Cancelo. It's the same debate with Trent, Robertson. These fullbacks basically play as wingers. So for me, I think Cancelo. I don't think he's a must-have. I think sort of Haaland is probably the only sort of must-have sort of player, because you can also go with someone like Kyle Walker to save some money. He's only 4.8 million, but I think he's a very strong option. And I'd probably say 75% out of 100 worth having Cancelo to not having Cancelo. So yeah, good player to own, just very attacking as well. Do I have the list of players who's got the most yellow cards? I actually do. So I will read that out right now because I've actually got it right here. So let me read this to everyone. And I can get this yellow card list because this is very interesting. And there's some big players on this list which could be quite costly to our teams. So I do happen to have the list handy, and it's a very good question. And I'll go through it now. Let's grab that list. Okay, so this is the list where players either have 5 games to avoid another yellow card, or else they get a 1-match ban, or 4 games to avoid a yellow card, or else they get a 1-match ban. So basically, players have to reach the 19-game mark. Then once they get to 19 games, all the yellow cards are rescinded. So these players with 4 games are Mitrovic, which is a big one for FPL, Robinson, Onana, Hickey, Smith, Ramsey, Bailey, McGinn, Kehrer, Harry Kane. That's a big one as well. So someone like Harry Kane, he could play this game against Brentford, take a booking, miss the Villa game at home, come back for Palace, and then obviously the double game week with Arsenal and Man City, because he's not going to want to get booked before those games or miss those games. So he might take a booking in either game week 17 or 18, so he doesn't miss game week 20. So keep an eye on that. But you could always have Kane and then just bench him anyway. But yeah, Harry Kane, big one. Salisu, Worrell, McKenna, Cook and Shah from Newcastle. So they've got 4 games left to try and avoid a booking, or they just get a booking and miss a game. And then the following players have 5 games. So Christensen, Decore, Ward. I think that might be Joel Ward, not Danny Ward. Casado from Brighton. McAllister, who isn't going to play this game for Brighton anyway. Who's obviously, because he's just come back from the World Cup with Argentina. Gabriel Jesus, who's injured anyway. And by the time Jesus comes back, his yellow cards would have been rescinded. And then Saliba's another one. So that's a big one. So if Saliba does find himself on a booking within the next 5 fixtures, he will get an automatic 1 match ban. So yeah, really good question there. Question coming from the wrestling film. Is taking Kula and Nunes out for Mount and Marshall too much of a risk? I would say yes. I don't know what that was. It's just dropped down my my chair. I've got to grab that. I would say yes, mate. I honestly think Kulusevski and Nunes is a better 2 options than Mount and Marshall. Yeah, I like the Kulusevski coverage. Darwin Nunes gets lots of chances, lots of shots on goal. I'd pick those 2 over the other 2. Yeah, for me, Mount you can always bring in if you need him in game week 19. Chelsea is just a wait and see for me. And as for Martial, he's just not shown any form in a long time. I know he's been injured. But yeah, I'll be backing Kulusevski and Nunes, mate, for sure. Cancelo or Reece James. If you can't have both, and I had to pick between the 2, be Cancelo every single time. Like I mentioned before, consistent, he's durable as well. Reece James, 60% of his career, he has been injured. So if I had to pick between the 2, rather than if I couldn't get both, I'd pick Cancelo every single time. And Wing, thanks for coming into the stream, mate. Great to have you in here. Yeah, and thanks for coming into the comments. And if you are new here, please like the video, hit the subscribe, and continue to get your questions in. We're an hour and 23 minutes until the game week 17 deadline. So yeah, I cannot wait for this. Should I start Luke Shaw or Gabriel? Yeah, that's a very good question. Shaw's got the easier fixture. Gabriel's got the set piece threat. Arsenal with a team on form. Manchester United probably aren't so much compared to Arsenal. I'd probably go Luke Shaw. Yeah, I'd go Luke Shaw because he's the fullback, the wing back. I like the players that attack. But yeah, that's a tricky one. If there's someone else you can drop and just play both, I would do that. But I'd pick Shaw over the 2. Wings just come in. First question: dilemma is having Dunk in Somerville and then Somerville in brackets more important, or having Andreas and Patterson, as I can only have either with my budget. Oh, that's tough. I like Dunk, and I really like Lewis Dunk. Set piece threat for Brighton. Brighton have got good fixtures. Might have the double in game week 21, but then Somerville's got a knock, so you might not necessarily get any minutes out of him right now. And then Andreas, double game week that we can see already, that's already booked in, game week 19. Patterson, cheap 4 million defensive option. Has this Wolves game as well, so you could probably play him in this game against Wolves. So for me, out of that combination, it's Andreas and Patterson right now. But I do really like Lewis Dunk. If you can get Lewis Dunk in as your 5th defender, I really, really like that pick. Lexit's just asked, is Kulusevski a good option? Yeah, I think so. I think I mentioned it earlier. He said no one's had more points per game as a midfielder from games played, minutes played, since Kulusevski joined the Premier League last season. Quinton is just coming and asked, are you opposed to using the free wild card to do a bench boost? We know the fixtures now, so is it worth the punt? Yes, I think it's worth it. And I'll tell you why. Every time I've used a double game week for a bench boost, it's not always been that great. There's been single game weeks where I've left 30 points on a bench, and I've thought, God, if only I bench boosted that week. So, yeah, I think if you can get a strong squad of 15, you could look to do it. The only thing I will say is on a double game week, when you've got 2 strong goalkeepers, where they've got, obviously combined double game week, you'd have 4 fixtures, right, from goalkeepers. You are potentially got an opportunity to get 4 clean sheets. Whereas on this, you're only going to have 2 games from each keeper altogether. So you're only really looking at potentially minimum 2 clean sheets. So I do like the double game week bench boost with the fact you get an extra goalkeeper. But things like unlimited transfers are good times to use bench boost because you can pretty much bulk up your squad with players, that are going to start. So, yeah, I don't think it's the worst strategy. I'm personally not going to play it, but yeah, could be worth a go, mate. Some more questions that are coming. So yeah, keep the questions coming in. I can see you've got some new faces in the stream as well, which is absolutely awesome. So please like the video and subscribe, and just keep getting your questions in for Game Week 17 because we're an hour and 20 minutes away from the deadline. So we want to try and get through as many questions as possible. So Quinton, we've gone through your question. Let's go over to Lexit. Sorry. So his team is Kepa, Cancelo captain. That's huge. I love that pick. Shaw, Trippier, Salah, Rashford, Kulusevski, Martinelli, Almiron, Haaland, and Darwin. Subs, Ward, White, Perraud, and Greenwood. Perraud is another one I'm really liking. 2 goals and 2 assists, I think, in his last 6 or 7 for Southampton. Potentially a new manager boost. So I like that. Ben White, obviously a good, cheap Arsenal option. Danny Ward and Kepa, good goalkeeper rotations. Just having a look, how many penalty takers have you got? You got Haaland, potentially Martinelli, but I think Saka will probably stay on pens. Salah. But then you've got set piece takers with Trippier. I think Shaw might take some pens. So yeah, very strong team, mate. Very strong team. I like it. Quinton's come in. His differential picks this week. He's going to say Luke Shaw. He's been big on Luke Shaw, actually. He's been telling me about Luke Shaw all week. So Luke Shaw is Q's differential pick. Eze from Palace. That's a very good pick with the Fulham and Bournemouth games in the next 2. And Nketiah from Arsenal against West Ham. Obviously, no Gabriel Jesus. So that's Quinton's 3 picks. Quinton does join the podcast quite frequently. So we'll probably do one. I reckon we'll do one for the next game week. For sure, we'll link up again. Let's go to Lecture's comment. The captain decision is weird because we're doing a captain and defender week with his friends. That's pretty cool. I love that. See, like for us, normally it's just a case of what it used to be is before the whole Captain Haaland, Captain Salah thing, it was, we just pick someone different every week, try and pick someone that, is kind of against the grain. And then Salah come along and it just become Captain and Salah all the time. And now Haaland's come on along. But look, to have something like that, Captain Defender week with your friends, makes the game so much more interesting and refreshing. So I absolutely love that. I really hope it pays off for you. And we did have a question here. What do you think about Carvalho from Liverpool? That's a really good shout. It's a really good shout for a differential. He did score against City, didn't he? I'm seeing a few of Liverpool's potential lineups, though. I am seeing Oxlade-Chamberlain in there, which is a bit of a blast from the past. So, again, it's one of those where it's like, probably not going to get the minutes, is he? So, yeah, it sounds better on paper than what it probably is, mate. But yeah, it's one of them. Another sort of wait and see. I wouldn't be desperate to get him in. And then Rory, the true FPL GOAT. Welcome to the stream, mate. Great to see you on here. It's been a while since I've seen you in a stream, mate. Says, hope I'm well. Going to take the risk and go with De Bruyne, Haaland, and Kane. And I hope the 3 premiums work out. Why not? Why not, mate? Fully load up on all of them. Get them all in your team. And even like I said, if Kane does get the book in this weekend and he gets the ban, you can just bench him. And then, he's safe and ready for game week 20, which I know is against Arsenal and Man City. But last season, 2 goals at the Etihad and a goal in the home game against Arsenal. Actually got 2 goals in that game, sorry. So fixtures is never a problem for Harry Kane. So, yeah, good pick. Haaland's obviously the obvious one. And then De Bruyne is a bit of the flavour of the month at the moment on FPL, in the FPL world. So good luck to you, mate. I hope you are doing well as well. Everyone keep getting your questions in. I have had another one that's come in from Harry Davies, so I will bring that up in a second. But yeah, if you are new here, please continue to get your questions into the comments. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. I love seeing all the new faces. There's a few in here. I think Goofy PS4, I might have seen you in here before, but great to have you in the comments. Harry Davies, Dijo Gamer, plenty of new faces in here. So please subscribe, like the video, and keep getting your questions in before deadline. We're now an hour and 15 minutes until deadline. So Harry Davies has asked Luke Shaw and Martinelli or Kyle Walker and Almiron. You know what? I'm going to switch it and I'm going to say, you know what? No, I'm not. I'm going to say Kyle Walker and Almiron. I was going to switch it and say Kyle Walker and Martinelli. You know what? I am going to say Kyle Walker and Martinelli. If you can switch it to Kyle Walker and Martinelli, and I'll tell you why. Kyle Walker gives you that City coverage because I'm assuming you don't have Cancelo or Edison, which is why you've gone Kyle Walker. So you get that Man City coverage there. Almiron I really like. He's obviously hitting, 7 out of the last games, something absolutely ridiculous. So Maximum will start making his way back into that side. Might give Almiron more points, might block his points. We don't know. But the reason I prefer Martinelli over Almiron right now, they play Newcastle in game week 19 at the Emirates. I'd pick Martinelli and Arsenal in that game ahead of Almiron and Newcastle. Arsenal have the double game week potentially in game week 21. So you've already got an Arsenal asset secured. They've got a double game week confirmed in game week 23. And Martinelli potentially may have some time in the central role. So, yeah, I actually like Martinelli and Kyle Walker. Also, I think Martinelli and Saka are switching in between pens as well. So, yeah, for me, it's Martinelli and Kyle Walker. If it's Luke Shaw, Martinelli, or Kyle Walker, Almiron only, I think Kyle Walker, Almiron is the better two. Because I'm assuming, like I said, you don't have any other Man City coverage in defence. And I think it's good to have at least one. But yeah, great question, Harry. Great to see you in the stream. Dijo Gamer, Almiron or Nketiah? Well, I'm assuming by having Nketiah up front, you then wouldn't have Almiron in midfield, and then vice versa, because obviously they are different positions. I'd still pick Almiron over Nketiah, though. I'd rather have Almiron in the team, in my lineup, in my 15-man squad, over Nketiah, if it was between those two players. So whatever your reasons are, mate, between those two players, I would be picking Almiron between the two. But best of luck with your decision. Harry Davies, just saying thanks a lot. No worries, mate. Great to see you in the stream and really, really appreciate the question. I am going to stay live. I'm going to stay live on the stream. There's not too many other questions, no more questions that have come in at this stage. So keep them coming in if you are watching, because we do have quite a few watchers, which is awesome. So just get all of your questions in. I am going to stay on the stream answering questions a bit longer, because it is great to just chat FPL with an hour and 12 minutes until deadline. So we have had a question. So let's go through this one. I'm just quickly checking to see if I've had any more questions that have come in on Instagram or TikTok or Twitter. So let's take a look as well. Also, if you haven't, follow me on TikTok at FPL Matt Day, at FPL Matt Day on Instagram, at FPL Matt Day on Twitter. So let's have a look. All right, so starting 11, Kepa, Reece James, Cancelo, Trippier, Salah plus Martinelli, Rashford plus Almiron, Haaland captain plus Mitrovic, Tony. Okay, so bench, Ward, Ben White, Bueno, Andreas. I have 1 million in the bank, still want to get Darwin. I really like Darwin. I've had to sacrifice him in my own team. I got 13 points out of him before the break. I'm happy with that. If he hits, he hits. But for me, it was between him and Salah as opposed to both. And if I'm going to pick between Salah or Darwin, I'm going to pay more. And I'm backing Salah every time. I think you need to replace one of Mitrovic or Tony for this game week. Possibly Mitrovic if he's a doubt, and then look to bring him in game week 19 if he's fit. So Nketiah, Che Adams are really good differentials. Yeah, Darwin. You've already got Salah, so I don't think you need Darwin as much. The double up's probably good. They are going to combine. But yeah, I think that's a pretty strong squad as well, mate. I don't think you need to make huge changes to that team. It's very template as well. So, I think you'll be pretty safe, mate. Geordie plays 10. Welcome to the stream, mate. Thoughts on 3 premiums, Kane, Haaland, and Salah? Yeah, I like it. I've got Haaland and Salah. So happy with that. And then if you're squeezing Kane in there, even better. He's never failed to score on Boxing Day. Takes pens. He will score goals. It's Harry Kane, second best scoring striker in the whole game. So consistent points per game. If it wasn't for Haaland, he'd be essential in everyone's team. The only thing that is being held back is the fact that Kane is on 4 bookings, and he's got those. Let me put up the picture again that I spoke about just before with the yellow cards, and he has 4 games to avoid another yellow. But if you do have Harry Kane, I'm just going to pull it up so everyone can see the question. If you do have Harry Kane in your team now, and he takes the booking against Brentford, and he's just like, look, get the booking now. I'll miss the Villa game at home in game week 18. You can just bench Kane anyway. Then you've got him fresh for the game away at Palace, Arsenal and Man City in the double game week in game week 20. Don't have to worry about any of his bookings getting him a ban anymore. And like I said as well, that's 2 teams where last season he got 4 goals against over both games. Harry Kane is fixture proof. If Kane wasn't on the 4 bookings, I'd say he was completely essential. But yeah, I like all 3. I think you can get away with all 3. This is a good question. Alisson or Pope as a goalkeeper? It's an interesting one because a lot of people are moving away from the 5 million plus goalkeepers at the moment because there is Kepa, David Raya, Danny Ward, Pickford. He's come into the frame of late. Everton might have a double game week in game week 21. Sanchez from Brighton, because Brighton might have a double game week in 21. But if I'm picking between those 2, a really, really interesting fact is Alisson, obviously top scoring goalkeeper last season in FPL, still the 3rd top scoring goalkeeper in FPL this season, despite obviously Liverpool's form not being as good. Looking at the fixtures, Liverpool do have good fixtures on paper. It's got to be Pope, though. I just think Newcastle have not conceded many goals this season. They've been tight. There's been 1-0 wins. If I was picking between the 2, it'd be Pope. But if you've already got Trippier and you want some Liverpool coverage because you're comfortable with their defence, then I would pick Alisson. But if I was really picking between the 2, it'd be Nick Pope. If I wasn't spending 5 million or more on a keeper, I'd be looking at Ramsdale, and I'd be looking at Sanchez from Brighton, potentially Kepa as well. But yeah, good question, but it would probably be Pope for me. Is Martinelli essential? No, I don't think he is. I just think there's so many midfielders. I don't think there's any one midfielder right now that is essential because we can't even decide on De Bruyne or a Salah. So that tells you there is no essential midfielder. If you're playing it on form, Almiron would be the essential midfielder. But we've had this break. Now everyone's confused as to what to do, right? So I don't necessarily think he's essential. But I think he's a great pick as well. If you can fit him in your side, you get him in. But I don't think it's essential. Welcome to the stream, JR. He just asked thoughts on Hutchinson. Is this the Chelsea Hutchinson? Let's have a look. I think he means, is this the Hutchinson at Chelsea? I've heard about this defender, this player. No. Let's check. Midfielder. Let's take a look. Whenever I think of Hutchinson, I think of Don Hutchinson, the old Everton, Sunderland, Liverpool midfielder. Yeah, let's go through. Let's find. I have to go back to Hutchinson. I'm trying to find his price point. Good question. When I'm stumped as to if Hutchinson's a good pick. Oh, yeah, it's from Chelsea. All right. So I was right. He is from Chelsea. I'm just trying to find him in the actual game. That's the problem. Is he's not even in the game. So I was right. He does play for Chelsea. He does play for Chelsea because I'd heard about Hutchinson. But the problem is, he is in the game. All right. So he's a midfielder. Okay. So I'd heard that Hutchinson was potentially a fullback, but he's obviously not. Amari Hutchinson, midfielder, 4.5 million. Yeah, look, again, for me, 4.5 million midfielders are just in there. They're saving you money. You never expect them to really get any points out of them. I know last season we had Ramsey from Villa, who happened to start getting us a lot of points. But for me, if you're going to be going down that 4.5 sort of million route, I'd be looking at Somerville from Leeds, keeping him on your bench because he does get minutes, gets goals. Even if he's not fit for this one, it's rare you're going to start someone at that price, mate. So personally, I wouldn't use a third Chelsea spot either, because if Chelsea do hit form, you've got Reece James, you've got Kepa, you want a third spot, you're probably going to want Mount, Sterling, those types of players. So yeah, I probably wouldn't bother, mate. I think there's plenty of other cheaper players in that price range, but yeah, no, good question though, and it's good to have another 4.5 million potential asset anyway. So yeah, awesome stuff, mate. Welcome to the stream. Wing as well. Thanks, Matt. It's a shame I've transferred out Andreas in thinking with extra value of 0.1. So tempted to have Somerville and Dunk both subs this game week instead of Andreas and Patterson also subs. Now, fair enough, mate. Yeah, I think look, Dunk is a good signing for FPL at 4.7 million. You could probably bench him this week, but like I said, if Brighton do get that confirmed game week 21 double game week, you're going to get two good fixtures out of Lewis Dunk. So yeah, I like that. And JR is new to the stream, which is great. So thanks for coming on board, mate, and looking forward to seeing you in all of the future streams. Really appreciate your support. And Geordie plays just with thanks for the information as well. So great to see you in the stream. And some more questions. Any chance someone could give an opinion on my team? Goalkeeper Kepa. So he's gone Kepa and Ward. Defenders Trippier, White, Dallo, James Patterson, KDB, Amara, Martinelli, Rodrigo, Andreas, Haaland, Kane, Nunes. I like it. And the thing I like about Rodrigo from Leeds is when he's played, he's scored goals. He's got big scores and he's a differential. I like to see teams where someone's picked one or two players that are just different to what we're seeing everywhere else. So I actually really like that team. Yeah, some really good picks. Patterson's a perfect fifth defender. Yeah, like I said, good fixture for him this week against Wolves as well, a team that do not score many goals. Attack's brilliant. Haaland, Kane, Nunes. So you've done really well to fit all three of them in, and Kevin De Bruyne. Obviously, by doing that, you obviously don't have Cancelo, but yeah, looks like a cracking squad. Yeah, so good work, mate. And welcome to the channel. Yeah, please subscribe. All these new people I'm seeing, please subscribe, and it'd be great to have you in the future streams with your questions. It's really good to see all of these new people in the stream. I do team reviews, mate. So yeah, obviously that was your team before, but if you've got any more to send in, send them in. And then JR's just come in. His current FPL team, Sanchez. I like that pick because Brighton are likely to have a double game week in 21, and it will be 2 home games as well. James, Cancelo, Trippier. Yeah, I think that's pretty strong. Martinelli, Gross from Brighton, who's a good option because he potentially will take penalties whilst McAllister is away for the next couple of games. Almiron, KDB, Hutchinson, Kane and Haaland. So yeah, I like that. Obviously, we spoke about Hutchinson before, but could be a good little enabler or different pick. for these next couple of weeks. Manish, De Gea or Kepa. I'll go Kepa between the two, just for the double game week. And I think other than these next couple of games for De Gea, I don't really like United's fixtures amongst that. And with Chelsea, their form has been so up and down, and obviously average of late, that normally when a team struggles, the first thing they look to do is tighten it up at the back and look to start keeping clean sheets, and grind out 1-0 wins. So they might start to look to do that under Potter. So I'd still be picking Kepa over De Gea. JR just said no Liverpool players in his squad, so very sad face. Yeah, like my team was like that. My team was like that until I made the decision to go Salah over De Bruyne, because I just looked at it and thought Liverpool will still score goals. They did pretty well not having a huge amount of players at this World Cup as well, so they've been able to keep their players fresh, and that was one of their biggest problems before the break was injuries, and obviously the large volume of games. Murray Hutchinson from Chelsea, who plays on the right wing, so that could be a very, very good shout. Thoughts on Nunes, Haaland, and Kane all up top? I don't think it's too much spent. I think you've got two penalty takers, Haaland and Kane, and then you've got Nunes, who seems to get 4 or 5 chances a game. He's been missing a few, but he's still getting in the positions. And we did see how good a finisher he can be in that game against Southampton. So you're going for goals there, mate. I like that. And then Meekus Pauls, would you get Dunk or Shaw and why? Thanks, Dunk. And the reason is Brighton's double game week in 21. I like it. 2 home games, set piece threat with Lewis Dunk, more durable than Shaw. Shaw gets a lot of muscle injuries. I don't know. Just prefer Dunk. I think outside of this next couple of games for Man United, don't like the fixtures, and I like Brighton's fixtures. And I just prefer this Brighton double in game week 21. I think there's some good doubles that could potentially happen in game week 21. Whereas if you have Dunk now and get on the front foot, you could have potentially a gem in there. Tarek Lamptey's another one. Apparently he's going to come back into the Brighton side. I'm not sure if Ozspike's still watching. It'd be good to get his point of view because he is a Brighton fan on Tarek Lamptey. But he's 4.2 million. I'll definitely look to get some Brighton coverage in there. JR just with the comment of true. Josh Topley, thoughts on this team? Kepa, Reece James, Cancelo, Trippier, Salah, Almiron, Martinelli, Rashford, Martial, Kane, and Haaland. I like it, mate. I really like it. Martial's someone I've not been so keen on myself. He's one of those. I think if you're a Man United fan and you're watching the game as a Man United fan, you probably just have him in there because you're watching your team play. You've got a second Man United player. For me personally, I've not as keen on Martial if you've got Rashford. But very bold going for both as a team and as a squad. I think it's strong. I think it's strong. Good stuff. And I like Kane and Haaland and Salah. So you've done well to have all of those in there. And then D just said, sorry, mate, I didn't realize you went through every question I was asking, hoping you choose one that's class you're going to sub. Thanks, mate. It's great to have you in the stream. And always nice to gain a new subscriber. Like I said, anyone that comes into the comments, with a question, I will answer every single question I can. I'll just go through question by question because what tends to happen is someone will ask a question and it ends up helping everyone anyway. So, yeah, awesome. When will we find out if the likes of Kepa, Rodrigo, and Dallo are going to be playing or not? Mate, that's the thing. We're probably not going to find out until post-deadline. The one thing that I tend to do is I go on the individual teams' forums. So Chelsea have the Shed End forum. Leeds have got their own forum. Man United have got Red Cafe forum. You can go on there and you can click their predicted teams. And then a lot of fans that might have inside information do have teams, or there might be leaks from Twitter. So I just try to take all of that in, mate. I also go onto Instagram, have a look at the pictures, see if any of them have been training. That's kind of what you can do, mate. To be honest, we're not going to get much because these games are spread out now over a number of days. I would just try and take as much information in as you can. If they're yellow flagged, make sure you've got a bench option to come off and replace them. I think Kepa will be okay. Dallo, I don't think so. and Rodrigo, I'm not sure on yet. So, yeah, that's what I do. And then Mikas Pauls, thank you. Good luck with your stream. No problem, mate. Thanks for coming in the stream. I really appreciate the support. Wing has just come in. It's always great, Matt, as you answer with great thoughts and precision. Join if you can, guys. A general question: is it better to have benching headache or stick to a premium KDB instead of Foden? Oh, mate, I think if your decision is either KDB or Foden, and you had no other decisions, it wasn't Salah, De Bruyne. It is literally just comes down to De Bruyne or Foden. De Bruyne, because he's more than likely going to be one of the first names on the team sheet for Man City. So if I'm picking between the two, I'd then go De Bruyne. Would not want the headache. And I think they're both quite similar in terms of their output for Man City as well. Yeah, that's how I would do it if I was picking between just those two. And Mofshell, hey mate, welcome to the stream. I've just seen that you have asked a question, so I will take that one up in a second. Thoughts on Manish, goalkeeper Kepa, Ward, White, Cancelo, Trippier, Davies, Perraud, midfield Rashford, Almiron, Salah, Saka, Andreas, Haaland, Darwin, Wilson. First draft with Callum Wilson, and I've seen. I like it. Takes pens. Newcastle attacking coverage. If they score a couple of goals, it'll probably be him or Almiron involved anyway. So I really, really like that. Strong defense. Perraud's a really good shout as well at 4.4 million. Yeah, again, another strong team, mate. You got penalty takers with Haaland, Wilson, Saka, Salah. Free kick takers with Trippier. So you can't go wrong there. Coutinho10, welcome to the stream. Love that YouTube name, Coutinho10. Do you use unlimited transfer? Yes, I did. I have. So my team prior to the break was actually looking quite good. And one of the main changes I did was De Bruyne for Salah, which I could regret. But like I said earlier on in the stream, I'm chasing goals. I feel like Salah can always get you goals. Penalties, one of Liverpool's main source of goals, whereas De Bruyne, not so much. He's mainly the supply or makes the third pass. Still a great option. But yeah, and then I'm looking at Che Adams as a differential for Southampton. Might be a bit crazy, but I like to pick differentials. And as for my global rank, I've seen a question come in. It's very weak this season. I'm in the millions this year. I had a great ranking finish last season. And then what happened this year, start of the season, I didn't captain Haaland. With Haaland, I'd have a very strong rank, but I didn't even have him in my team. I went De Bruyne at the start of the season and he punished me. So I've actually had a poor year in terms of my own personal team, but I've had a strong year in terms of helping other people's teams, which I guess kind of balances itself out. And a lot of the differentials and the players I've picked every week have been really good, but my own team struggled. Last year, really good. Had a great end to the season. I think I was top 50 or something in the world for captain picks. PSB, who watches the streams, he knows what my stat was. It might have been 50 or 60 or something. But yeah, this year's not been so great. But I'm hoping second half of the season, I'm just going to start picking differentials, having a bit of fun with it, and hoping just climb back up the ranks, start to do a little bit better. There's a long way to go. But the main thing is just to enjoy these streams, meet as many people as I can, chat about as much FPL as I can, and use all the experience from playing FPL on these streams and trying to help people with their questions. Obviously, I just said, is it worth taking the risk with Kane considering he's got 4 yellow cards? I think so. I think it's worth it because I think, like I said, if he takes the yellow card tonight, bans himself for the next game, just bench him because a lot of people are going to have strong enough squads. I'm assuming you've got Andreas. Well, I think you've posted your team in here somewhere in the comments. You bench him for a game and then you've got him ready for the double game week and game week 20. Leo Chang, can you rate my team? Kepa, Ward, Shaw, Dunk, James, Bueno, Trippier, Somerville, Andreas, KDB, Saka, Rashford, Kane, Darwin, Haaland. It's strong. I think you're probably going to play a 4. 3-3 with that, because you would play on KDB, Saka, Rashford. Yeah, on a 4-3-3, that's strong. Haaland, Kane, Saka, penalty takers, Shaw, Reece James, Trippier, Andreas, free kick takers. So yeah, strong team. Lots of premium options. Can't go wrong. Rashford, free kick taker as well. For me, Somerville. Bailey's a booking away from a ban as well. And Somerville, I think, even if he's not fit for this game week, I think he's going to be a really good player to own as that fifth midfielder. We've got a few more questions that come in, so I'll go through all of these. And then if I don't get anything in the next sort of 5 minutes or so in terms of questions, or more people don't join the stream, we'll look to wrap up. Yeah, I've had some really good views tonight. So thanks everyone that's viewed. Thanks to all the new faces. Yeah, everyone that's liked the stream. If you haven't, please like the stream. Please subscribe. Syed just asked Darwin plus Walker or Martial and Cancelo. God, that's a tricky one. Darwin and Walker, because you still get a Man City coverage, and Darwin's a better pick than Martial. So that's what I would do, mate. KDB, it's just an example. I can build a team of 15 top quality players with Foden, but liable to leave 30 to 45 points on the bench in any game week, where fringe players like Andreas and Dunk, for example, better. Thing is, if you're leaving points on the bench, it's not necessarily a bad thing if you're getting the points in your starting lineup anyway. Just shows you've got a strong squad. I think one of the big things to point out in this Christmas period as well is we're coming off the back of a World Cup. Teams are going to be rotated. There's 5 subs now in the Premier League, so there's going to be lots of subs. You're going to need a squad in your FPL team. You can't just rely on 11 players. You need a full playing squad. If your goalkeeper is injured or isn't going to play, you need a backup keeper. If you've got a yellow flag on a defender, you've got a player that played every single minute of the World Cup. You're gonna need a backup. Players will get injured. Players will be rested, in my opinion. Do I reckon to go for the Kepa start? I'd still start Kepa. And then you've got Ward to come on. I wouldn't necessarily expect Ward to get anything more than sort of a 2 or 3 pointer against Newcastle, but you'd rather have that security of Ward who's going to play. And you can just start Kepa, mate, because if he doesn't play, he's not going to come off the bench. He's either going to be on the bench, be on the pitch and play, or not in the squad. In my thoughts, especially because Mendy is sort of playing Chelsea around at the moment with his contract situation. So yeah, I'd be very surprised if Kepa doesn't start if he's fit to play. Ward will probably end up with minus this week. Yeah, well, that's the thing. Yeah, there's probably a chance he's not going to get a clean sheet, but it's still good to have him as backup. Yusuf just saying, I've no money in the bank. Is it worth downgrading White to Patterson to have spare money? I think you can get away with it for this game week because I think Patterson will keep a clean sheet against Wolves. As long as you've got someone else's coverage for the next game week, because I probably wouldn't want Man City Patterson playing in the away game against Man City in game week 18. So yeah, if you need that money, then it could be worth doing. But at the same time, you could always build a team game week 17 that's ready for game week 18, have 2 transfers saved for game week 19. So then it doesn't really matter if you've got no money in the bank because you get 2 transfers in 19 and you can make a couple of moves that then give you money anyway. So yeah, there's also that option. Carl has just come in. Hey mate, your thoughts on my team? Kepa, Ward, James, Trippier, Cancelo, Shaw, Patterson, KDB, Saka, Rashford, Andreas, Bailey, Haaland, Darwin, and Wilson. I like it. Bailey, this is your squad though. Is Bailey your sub? If Bailey's your sub, I think it's fine. I probably wouldn't want to start Bailey. So you can play 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 1, 2, 3. So you can play a 4 at the back. 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah, 4-3-3. Perfect. That's a great team. Again, penalty takers in there, free kick takers. Yeah, you're not covering Spurs, but I'm a Spurs fan. And even I can admit, like, other than the 4-3 game against Leeds, the last game week 16, our games have been hit and miss, up and down. Like Kane's probably the only kind of one that you can really rely on right now. So yeah, man, I wouldn't stress too much. Game week 20 is where you probably look at it and think, all right, do I need a Spurs player for this? Josh Topley, welcome to the stream, mate. Thoughts on this team? Edison, Shaw, Ben White, Trippier, Almiron, Salah, Rashford, Bruno Fernandes, one of this week's differential picks. Martinelli, Kane, and Haaland. I like it. Haaland, penalty taker. Kane, penalty taker. Martinelli, potentially rotational penalty taker with Saka. Bruno, penalty taker. Rashford, free kick taker. Salah, penalty taker. Trippier, free kick taker. Shaw, corner taker. So I like it, mate. Good team, good squad, plenty of options. Leo Chang, should we save the money in advance for the potential Trossard transfer? I would make sure you've got someone that you can transfer to Trossard, because I think when Brighton playing game week 21, you're gonna have 2 home games. So you're either going to be looking at Trossard, Dunk, Sanchez, McAllister will be back then. That's what I'd be looking at. McAllister could end up being the option, right? And he's cheaper than Trossard, I think. So you necessarily could look at it and think, I'd rather McAllister takes pens, he's bouncing off winning the World Cup. But yeah, Trossard's definitely the more explosive option. So I think if you've got someone you can switch to Trossard, I've got Zaha, so I can just switch Zaha to Trossard if I need to. Sorry if I don't get your pronunciation right, mate. Malte, Swankvist. Is that a Swedish name, maybe? Welcome to the stream, mate. I haven't seen you in the stream, so yeah, great to have you in. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done, mate. You've asked, is it worth downgrading Cancelo to Walker to getting KDB instead of Fernandes? Or Cancelo is up there for me. Walker is there. But then KDB's up there and Bruno's about there. But Bruno is on pens. Man United have 3 good games on paper. United rely on Fernandes more at the moment as well. I'm gonna put my neck on the line. I'm gonna say Cancelo and Fernandes. But good luck with your decision. But I'm doing that because I remember the Bruno pre-Ronaldo on pens. Absolutely ridiculous asset. So good to own. Yeah, and I like Cancelo more. So it's probably what I'll do. But again, that's a tricky one to be in, mate. And then D, would it be a bad idea to have Dalot starting and then Patterson first sub? Because I reckon if Dalot plays, he'll have a better game. Or is that a dumb idea? You could always start Dalot, because if he doesn't play, I don't think he'll come on as a sub. And then Patterson just comes on for him anyway. So it's probably not the worst idea, mate, to be honest. So yeah, it makes sense. I think Dalot is 50-50. So if he plays, clean sheet, always gets bonus. Doesn't play, Patterson comes on anyway. So that's what I would do. Tronza just said subs in order: Andreas, Bueno, Patterson. I'd put Patterson ahead of Bueno. What do I put him ahead of Andreas? Tough, because Andreas is on set pieces. Andreas is the typical player that everyone's benching for this game week, and he will get points like he has done in the last months of FPL before the World Cup. So for that reason, I'd probably still stick him as the first sub, and then Patterson as 2, Bueno as 3, because I'd back Everton to keep a clean sheet over Wolves. Comment from A.Yusef. Thanks for the comment, mate. Yeah, I'm looking to downgrade Darwin to Mitro for double game weeks, then upgrade Almiron to Kulusevski for game week 20. Bring in Walker for sure when their fixtures turn nasty, and for the City double. I like that. Good planning. Preparing yourself for the double game weeks. Kulusevski is going to end up being a player that people are going to want in their teams, because he is a productive footballer. Scores goals, supplies lots of goals for Harry Kane as well. Good player. I like that plan. And then Gali Bro, who would you rather bench? Almiron versus Saka versus Nketiah versus Ake. Okay, so Almiron and Saka, I'd rather bench Almiron because Saka is a penalty taker and Arsenal have a home game. Nketiah or Ake, I would bench Ake because, again, Nketiah has a home game. I think Arsenal will score a goal or two. He may then be involved. I always prefer to back attackers. City's defence hasn't been great. You still expect them to keep clean sheets every game they play, but they do now have the injury to Ruben Diaz. So if that is the question you're asking, Saka over Almiron, Nketiah over Ake. And this is me being non-biased because I am a Spurs fan and I'm back in Arsenal. So that is what I would do. But I like Almiron as well, but that's what I would prefer to do. Harry Davies with a question, KDB or Salah? Salah. And I've said this purely because we're going to want De Bruyne for game week, either game week 20 where he plays 2 games or game week 23 because he's got 2 games in game week 23. You can always switch Salah back to KDB for those games. But the reason I'm picking Salah right now, Liverpool coverage, if you don't have Darwin, takes pens, 5 goals in 5 games against Aston Villa. No World Cup, so he's fresh. And I'm chasing goals. Whereas with De Bruyne, you're chasing assists. He can get 2 or 3 assists over Haaland because Haaland obviously finishes every shot he gets. But yeah, Salah for me. I think that game's going to be, I said 2-1 to Liverpool, but I think it could be a 2-2, 3-2 type of game. There's potential to be a thriller at Villa Park. Always is between Villa and Liverpool. A few years ago, was it 7-2 to Villa? Salah got 2 goals even in that game. Lewis Chang, KDB, Mount or Salah Foden? Ooh, Salah Foden for me. Salah Foden. Mount apparently for Chelsea is going to be central, but not sort of central attacking, playing a bit further back in the way Potter wants to play. Chelsea got some midfield injuries, might be Loftus-Cheek, Kante, a few of the others. So, yeah, Salah Foden for me. Winglam, thanks for discussing FPL, Matt. I love your edification and they help everyone when you answer them. No problem, mate. I just love answering everyone's questions. I like all these new faces I'm seeing in the stream as well. It's brilliant to see all of these new faces, all of these new subscribers. We are 37 minutes away from deadline. This stream was supposed to be an hour. We're an hour and 22 minutes in. We will continue as we want to get through every single question. What I might do after I answer this question, I will answer the other questions, but I might just quickly check Twitter and make sure there was no last minute team news or injuries or anything like that. Just in case anything happens to the deadline. Because I want to make sure all of the information that I'm providing everyone is as up to date as possible. So I'm just having a look now just to see if there's any other news. All seems to be pretty straightforward and plain sailing. I don't think there's any late injury news or anything that we're seeing. Okay. So Trans has dumped White, Tony, and Mitro to Darwin, Che Adams, and Patterson. Yeah, I like that. Che Adams, I've got a good feeling about him this game week. I hope everyone that has watched his stream and has decided to go with Che Adams, I hope you all get goals. I hope you get a double out of him. It would just be brilliant. How good would that be? Starting game week 17 with a couple of goals from Che Adams, or even a goal with some bonus from Che Adams. That is the best thing about FPL, is picking a player like a Che Adams that comes out, 8 or 9 points, the differentials. Foden replacement, Kulusevski or Saka for me, mate. Kulusevski, I mentioned it earlier, most points per game from any midfielder that has started from January onwards. That's in minutes played. Always Kulusevski or Saka for FPL. Is Esteban now looking to save 0.2? Mate, Dunk is the most reliable. They're saying I had a look at some of the Brighton forums, and they're actually saying that Tariq Lamptey is going to make his way back into the side at 4.2 million. Played in the League Cup against Charlton in the week, but they rotate their fullbacks a lot, which is Estupinan, Tariq Lamptey, Veltman plays there. Webster's injured at the moment, so there's Colehill at the moment who's 4.4. So he could be worth a gamble for a few weeks if Webster's out long term. But to be honest, mate, I would just go safe with Dunk. Can't go wrong with Lewis Dunk. So yeah, good question. Quinton, would you do Walker over Cancelo and going Eze to Sterling? No, I wouldn't, because I think Cancelo is a better pick than Walker. And Eze always seems to deliver the goods in these games. I think Cancelo and Eze for now is stronger, but Sterling is a wait and see because he could be someone that you bring back in game week 19. Is Gross a good player for FPL? At the moment, he is, because McAllister is away for 2 games because he won the World Cup with Argentina. So that's 2 game weeks. You'll have Gross, and he'll be on pens. Then game week 21, Brighton potentially have a double game week. So, yeah, not a bad pick. But I'd still pay the money for Trossard over him. But if you need a cheaper midfielder, he's a good pick. Welcome to the stream, Football Ferreira. What a legend this guy is. Go and check his channel out. So if you've subscribed to me tonight, because I know we've had some really good subscribers tonight, go check out Football Ferreira. He does more football content, match reactions, match reviews, shorts. He's been a big supporter of my channel this season. Here he goes. Great information. This channel is the best for fantasy football teams. So he's been a big supporter of mine this season. Yeah, legend. He's from the same island, Madeira, that Cristiano Ronaldo's from as well. So there you go. Go and check his channel out. Yeah, top guy. And welcome to the stream, mate. Great to have you in. Another question from SOS14. Kepa or Edison or Pope? Kepa from the 3 because of his price and the double game week. Edison if you don't have any Man City coverage, and Pope if you don't have Trippier. But I'm assuming you've got Trippier. I'm assuming you've got Cancelo or Walker. So Kepa. I don't think he's the best goalkeeper from the 3 as a footballer, and I don't think he's the best pick in terms of the points you're going to get at the end of it. But because of his price and from an FPL point of view, you pick Kepa, in my opinion. Sorry, mate, I cannot pronounce your name. My missus might be able to, because I'm pretty sure that is Greek. Let me know if that's Greek language in the comments. My missus would be able to read that because she is Greek. Who would I bench? Do you have your team, mate? Have you sent me your team? Oh, I can see. All right, here we go. My current starting lineup is Kepa, Cancelo, Shaw, James, Rashford, Salah, Foden, Almiron, Haaland, Nunes, Martial. I have Trippier on my bench. Should I bench someone from my starting 11 and start Trippier? Okay, so I would play. This is the team I would play. Kepa in goal. Cancelo, Shaw, James. So 3 at the back. Hold on. I have Trippier on my bench. Okay. All right, hold on. I'm going to read this again. Rashford, Salah, Foden, Almiron. Mate, I would play... I'd play Trippier. You can't not play Trippier. His points have been too good this season. His points are too good. And you'll get... If Trippier does something, you'll be too angry, mate, that you've benched him. I would probably bench Luke Shaw. I know you're bringing in Luke Shaw for this game, the Wolves game and the Bournemouth game. But if I bring Martial in, I'm probably playing him. It's either Martial or Shaw, mate. If you think Man United have more of a chance of keeping a clean sheet than Martial scoring a goal, then you play Shaw. If you think Nottingham Forest will score, you play Martial. For me, I bench Martial and I play Shaw. I don't bench Trippier. I play him. He's been too good this season. And Leicester's still a good game for him. Football Ferreira. This comment said that Mitrovic apparently will not play due to his fitness. That is true. He is a doubt. There's also some questions I missed further up, so I'm actually going to quickly bring him up. Football Fair did say Cancelo for sure. Will guarantee you more points than Walker. He's right. He's basically like a winger playing as a defender. And anytime, mate, I appreciate your support. SOS, Mitrovic or Martial. For this game week, Martial. For the next 4 or 5 game weeks, Mitrovic. I know he's on that yellow card. But if he gets it and he doesn't miss double game week 19, then it's probably Mitrovic. But for this game week, you can only kind of play what's in front of you right now. So I guess for right now, Martial, but Mitrovic is outside of this game week the better FPL option, in my opinion. And anytime, mate, anytime. My team I'll read at the end of the stream. I'll go through the questions, mate, and I will read it. But one thing I will say is I've got Salah in there over De Bruyne. And then we obviously bring up your starting lineup, mate. Mitrovic is apparently a doubt. Sorry, mate. It's Macedonian. I'm sorry, mate. I don't know why I thought it looked Greek. I don't know what. But then, right, okay. Is it still the Greek alphabet? Is that still the Greek language? I know Macedonia. Was it part of Greece? This is FPL. We'll go history. That can be another. That can be another stream. Sorry, mate. Coach is gonna see no Ronaldo in the game anymore. He has now been officially taken out of FPL, unfortunately. Football Fair, honestly, you don't get better help or better information from anywhere else. You are a legend, mate. Thank you for your support. And then gone through that question. And then Football Fair, according to Marcelo Silva, Mitrovic may not play. Yeah, I think that is the case, man. I think he's a doubt. And the worry with that from an FPL point of view is Mitrovic might not play. So then what it basically means is game week 18, if he picks up a yellow card, he will then be suspended for one of the games in game week 19. And he plays 2 games in game week 19. So you're effectively not going to get a double game week out of Mitrovic. So, yeah, it's a tricky one. And he's going to do a review straight after the Brentford v Spurs game, if you're free, as always. I will be watching that game, but the reason I might not be free afterwards is because where I live in Australia, for those that are new to the stream tonight. So I'm English born, but I've lived in Australia for a long time now, and I'm currently living on the East Coast. So our game starts at 11:30 p.m., which means the game will finish probably between 1:15 and 1:30. And then I got to get myself to bed. I am getting my hair cut in the morning. It looks quite short on the camera, but yeah, I'm actually getting a fresh cut in the morning at 8 a.m. So I need to get myself to bed, mate. But I do need to jump on one of your streams soon, for sure. I'm actually going on a trip to the west coast of Australia for the next month, which is where my family live. And they are 3 hours behind. So I'll be able to have some early games on the Saturday. So I'll be able to sort of jump onto to some streams. And what a legend Football Frere is. Then SOS 14, is Almiron good? Of course he's good, mate. Top scoring midfielder in FPL this season. He's a brilliant pick, mate. 5.8 million. If he doesn't do well, he hasn't cost you much. You can just bench him. He's cheap. But yeah, great option. High performing Newcastle team. Can't go wrong. And mate, it's going to make a big difference. Big difference. So I'm going to be flying across the other side of Australia, huge country, and the time difference is 3 hours earlier over there, which really does help. And Almiron is a very class player. Paraguayan. Wing. Okay, what do you reckon? Kepa, James, Trippier, Cancelo, Salah, Foden, Rashford, Martinelli, Wilson, Haaland, Martial, subs, Ward, White, Dunk, Somerville. Like it, mate. Very good. Very attacking as well. Like I've done with everyone else's question. Haaland, penalty taker. Wilson, penalty taker. Martinelli will switch on penalties with Saka. Rashford, free kick taker. Salah, penalty taker. Trippier, free kick taker. Reece James, corner taker and free kick taker. So, good team. And Cristiano Yarwood, is Tony still an option? He is for now. He is for now. And the reason he's still an option is because he's not been banned. So I think he had 242 betting offences or something crazy. But he's not been banned yet. So he is technically an option this game week, takes pens, gets goals. So he'll be an option for this game week, the next game week, until he gets his ban. And the thing is, if you're comfortable owning Tony because you know how good he is for FPL, you could own him. And then when he does get the ban, just switch him for Mitrovic if Mitrovic is available for both games in game week 19. Or switch him for Callum Wilson, or whoever sort of the in-form forward is at that time. So it is still possible. And a lot of people shied away from Tony because of this ban that's happening, but he's not going to get banned during this game. So you could end up getting 2 or 3 games out of him. And his ownership has gone all the way down because of his ban. So still an option. Still takes pens. And anytime, mate, anytime. Saka or Almiron? I picked Saka earlier, didn't I, when I did this? Someone asked me this question earlier, mate. I really like Almiron. But the reason I would pick Saka, and I'm a Spurs fan, so this is definitely not a biased comment. The reason I would pick Saka, Arsenal are at home, 2 of their next 3. They're winning games. I know Newcastle are as well, but Saka takes pens. They've got double game week potentially in game week 21, confirmed in game week 23. I think if that was the choice between those 2, it's Saka. It's Saka. And he looks like he's really got sharp and is coming to form in the World Cup, and he'll bring that back to Arsenal. So between the 2, if it's all about price, saving money, you need to use the money elsewhere on another defender or, a third striker, whatever, then you go with Almiron. But if it's just a split in the middle between the 2, you go with Saka. All right, so I've got some more questions that have come in. So I'm just going to answer some more. What I'm doing is I'm not ignoring people in the comments. I'm actually just making sure there's no last minute news. Okay. All right, a couple more questions have come in, so I'm going to answer them. We are 22 minutes until deadline. If you are new here, please hit the subscribe. Plenty of new faces tonight. It's been absolutely brilliant having all the new faces. I can't wait for you to come into the future streams, get involved in all the shorts. I have guests frequently as well, so anyone can come on. We can go through your FPL team. So yeah, it's great. You can also follow me at FPL Matt Day on Twitter. So go on to Twitter now, give me a follow. I tweet a lot, so I do threads on Twitter, and I do like differentials, captains, live reactions to games whilst the games are on. Talk about how bad my team's done or how good my team's done. So yeah, come on there. TikTok as well, Instagram. Love meeting absolutely everyone. SOS with another question. It's been great. You've asked some really awesome questions tonight, mate. And you've asked, is this a good team? I'm seeing a lot of Keppers. I'm seeing a lot of Keppers in goal. I'm seeing a lot of Martials now. So he's gone Kepa, Trippier, James Cancelo. I like that. Foden, Almiron, Rashford, Trossard, Martial, Haaland, Nunes. Okay. Ward, White, Gross, Perisic. I like it. Perisic. He is on the bench for Spurs tonight, so you've done well to bench him. Agree. I'm assuming you're doing that with potentially the double game week. But what I will say about Perisic is because he's getting benched tonight, you can play him in game week 18. Becomes a huge differential. He's attacking, can play on the left, on the right, can play in a front 3. So yeah, differential like that pick. Gross can play in double game week 21. Ben White, Arsenal coverage. Nunes, Haaland, really good picks. Martial, differential. Trossard's going to be playing centre forward for Brighton. Strong team with a couple of differentials in there, mate. I like it. Leo Chang, if money doesn't matter, Bueno or Patterson? Patterson, because I think he has more of a chance of keeping his place. Bueno has a lot more competition, and both defenses, they can both play quite a low block, but I think Everton have the stronger defensive season. And normally when it's a 4 million defender, right, 3.9 million defender, you're only really having them in there because they're cheap and you use them as a last resort. And Patterson's someone that you could probably use for this game week. Get a clean sheet out of him or 9 points out of him or whatever. And that's kind of done. That's like that's the reason you have him is for 1 or 2 matches. So between the two, without money being a thing, Patterson. And love your analysis, Matt. Just like to subscribe. Thanks, mate. Great to have you in. Appreciated all of the questions. Have been absolutely awesome. And Zakaria, Zaha or Rashford? What a question. Both. Get both in, mate. But if you can't have both, Zaha. And the reason being, I know he missed a penalty in the last game week, but he's on pens, and pens wins it for me. And I always like it when there's a player in a team who are a bit more self-reliant on that player's goals. United can be reliant on Martial, Bruno Fernandes. There's other players in their side, whereas with Palace, a lot goes through Zaha. So I would still pick Zaha for the next 2 games. He then may have a double game week in 21. We should know within the next couple of game weeks if Zaha has a double game week in game week 21, which then will be the deciding factor to keep Zaha or sell him off. At that moment, you can hopefully swap him for Mason Mount in game week 19, double game week for Chelsea. So for me, between the two, Zaha, if you can have both, try both. But out of the two, Zaha, penalties and all of Palace's play goes through him. And I like the Fulham fixture because Fulham have a lot of injuries. Another question that's come in from Elias. Welcome to the stream, mate. So he's just asked on his team. What I might quickly do is I might just quickly go through some of my team. I need to make sure my team's done. I've got Che Adams. I'm going to go Kulusevski. Ben White is in there. Salah over De Bruyne. Zaha's in there. Dunk, who I've mentioned, in there. Solanke is staying in there. Best third cheap striker option remains Solanke. You can bench him. Might have a double game week in game week 21. Andreas Ward. So yeah, pretty similar to what everyone's got in here. There is 18 minutes until deadline. So I'm going to go through the next couple of questions and then I will look to call it a day, as I can see quite a few of the watchers have just started to leave the stream now. So I think everyone is just in injury time now doing their teams. So let's do Elias's team. What do you think about my team? Kepa, Walker, James, Trippier, Bruno Fernandes, KDB, Rashford, Martinelli, Haaland, Nunes, Wilson. I think the lineup's strong. Free kick takers with James, Trippier. Bruno takes pens. De Bruyne gets lots of assists. Rashford takes free kicks. Martinelli, we've spoke about, rotates on pens. Haaland, penalty taker. Nunes gets lots of chances. So team is strong. Wilson takes pens. Bench, again, very flexible. Anderson can come in. Andreas, can come in if you've got an injury in midfield. Patterson can come in for a defender. And Bueno as well. So I think it's good. And obviously Danny Ward too. And I've had a question about who's going to win the Premier League. So I'll answer that last. Haaland can't go. Do not make my mistake. Between game weeks 4 to 6, my season went downhill by not captaining Haaland. Cost me about 80 points. And with that, I'd be a really strong rank now. And I lost it. Now I just stick it on Haaland, keep it on him. And I'm trying to gain ranks in other positions now. And I think do not mess around with captain. Because that can save you from a bad game week. So Haaland, mate, in my opinion. One thing I will say is Haaland doesn't have as good a record away from home as at home. But yeah, between the two, Haaland. I'll wait 30 seconds if there's any more FPL questions. If there's not, anytime, mate, anytime. I'm going to answer SOS's question because he's asked a very interesting question. Okay, hold on. I've just had someone's asked me, so I'm going to read out my friend's draft team actually before I go through the rest of this. I'm going to tell him reading out his team. So I'm going to read out my friend's team. So my mate has De Gea in goal, Trippier, James, Walker, very strong. Almiron, Martinelli, De Bruyne, Rashford. Yeah, good midfield. I think he's gone very strong. Quite template. And then Wilson, Haaland, Darwin. So very strong front three. So he's got Wilson, penalty taker, Haaland, penalty taker. Rashford takes free kicks. Martinelli might rotate on penalties. Reece James takes free kicks. Trippier. Bench of Castagna, White, Andreas, and Ward. Strong squad. We'll give that squad an 8.5 out of 10. There you go. And I'm going to let him know now. So we are 14 minutes until deadline for game week 17. So I think I've given him an 8.5 out of 10 for that squad. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of those players from his lineup, but I still think it's a strong squad. Everyone's drafts always look better than your own, I find. All right, so let's go into this question because it doesn't look like we've got any more FPL stuff right now. And we've had a great stream. Lots of new subscribers, lots of new faces. Continue to like the video if you haven't done. Continue to subscribe if you just jumped in. Everyone that's come in, I appreciate it. I can't wait to see you on the next stream. Because I do fancy football for Premier League. I've just done it for the World Cup. I do it for the Champions League. I do it for all of the comps. But yeah, I also do like the odd football stream as well. So watch along and that type of thing. So you're always welcome to jump in the comments. All right, before we answer this one, I will answer one more FPL question. Zaha, Foden or Martinelli? I would pick Zaha from the three because he is on pens. I'm obsessed with set piece takers, mate. That's who I would pick. Plus, he's becoming differential, and I think he'll do well for Palace against Fulham. Who do I think will win the Premier League? Oh. Okay. Manchester City for me will win the Premier League because we are only. Then again, this is a tricky one because Arsenal play Man City in game week 23 in a double game week at the Emirates as a catch-up game. If Arsenal win that, because I think they'll keep up their good form, my answer could change. But for now, we are only 14 matches in between Arsenal and Man City. 14 matches. It's not even halfway. So we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 matches away from the halfway point. We have seen Liverpool ahead of Man City at Christmas or at these types of stages of the season a few times. City have still been able to come around and win the league. They are just so strong. Arsenal play great football. I can admit that as a Spurs fan, they play great football. They've got some good players. I like what they're doing. But I think Man City, when it comes to a 38-game season, I think they will hit between 90 to 95 points and they will be too strong. And I do not see any other team getting near that this season. I don't think we'll see the Man City team that has hit 98, 99, 101, 102 points, whatever it was. But I think we'll still see a City team hit between 90 to 95. So I think they will win it on that basis. But that's not to say Arsenal aren't having a good season. They're having a great season. And that's not to say they're not in a title race because in 3 or 4 games, they win the next 3 or 4. You just never know what can happen. I think Man City will win it. But Arsenal, for me, I think they'll be back in the top 4 and back in the Champions League, which is huge for them. Huge. More important for Arsenal to get back in the Champions League this season than win any trophy. Unless they win the Europa League and get put in the Champions League. That's the only other way. Otherwise, top 4 for them is bigger than anything. They need to get back in the Champions League, and I think they will. Great question. And then David, start Trossard or Mount. Ooh, Trossard. He's playing at centre forward for Brighton, playing against Southampton. Chelsea aren't doing it going forward. They've not looked good. Stop start going forward. Haven't been scoring goals. He's going to be playing quite deep. I think Trossard is the better option. If you can start both, start them both, but Trossard for me. And Robbo, who's better option, Kane and Shaw or Darwin and Cancelo? Oh, Kane's a better option than Darwin, but Cancelo is a better option than Shaw. As a 2, Darwin and Cancelo are a better option than Kane and Shaw. Good question. But there we go. What a stream. What a great stream, everyone. Thanks to those that have stayed in the stream for an hour and 50 minutes. Brilliant. Like, absolutely brilliant. And thanks to everyone that was brand new. They come in, subscribed, liked the video, asked questions. Yeah, it was an absolutely brilliant stream. Good luck to everyone for game week 17 and your unlimited transfers. Good luck for the rest of the season. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't done already. Like the video. Continue to comment even during the game week. I'll come back in and reply. We can talk about the game week and how it's gone. I'll be back with more content in the next week. There's obviously game week 18, game week 19. They're all very close together. So I'll be back, throughout the course of the week. So thanks, everyone. Like I said, you can follow me at FPL Matt Day on here on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Come on to Twitter and follow me on there. I'm on there a lot. So, love interacting with everyone on there as well. But yeah, brilliant stream. Thanks, everyone, for the support. Good luck for this game week. Good luck for the rest of the season. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all on the streams for the next podcast for game week 18. I will see everyone in the next one. Until then.